Come on.
Woo!
Let's go. Dubs in the chat, baby. Come on.
Fever now! NC's career high, period.
Caitlin Clark, masterclass of beauty, perfection, a 45-point double, a 45-point double.
Caitlin Clark done turned up on you. Caitlin Clark put on a spectacular show. Chef's Kiss versus the Seattle Storm. Oh yeah, I put on my shirt and tie because damn it, we mean business.
What's up, everyone? If you love WNBA news, basketball history, without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into it. What you're about to hear is not just another WNBA record. It's a moment that could be remembered for years to come. Caitlin Clark has officially become the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 200 career three-pointers. Stay with us because this performance was truly unforgettable. If you're enjoying this content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 93% of people watching still haven't subscribed. It's completely free, takes only a second, and it really helps support the channel. So have you subscribed yet? If you have, thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the story. History was made the moment Caitlin Clark knocked down that milestone three-pointer. With that shot, she officially became the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 200 career three-pointers. Take a moment to think about what that means. The WNBA has been home to some of the greatest shooters the game has ever seen. Just when some critics believed Caitlin Clark might finally be slowing down, just when they thought the physical defense, constant pressure, injuries, and sky-high expectations were beginning to catch up with her, she answered in the most incredible way possible by doing something no player in WNBA history had ever done faster. She reached 200 career WNBA legend Katie Smith. And somehow, that historic shooting milestone wasn't even the biggest story of delivered one of the greatest all-around performances the league has ever witnessed. She finished with 45 points, 10 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, 6 made three-pointers, and led the Indiana Fever to a thrilling 110-107 victory over the Seattle Storm. It marked the first game in WNBA history where a player recorded at least 40 points and 10 assists, while her 45 points also set a brand new Indiana Fever franchise record. Today, we're breaking down the record, the performance, the pressure surrounding Caitlin Clark, and why reaching 200 career three-pointers this quickly represents far more than just another number. Whether people cheer for her or continue to criticize her, one thing is becoming harder and harder to ignore. Caitlin Clark is changing the pace at which WNBA history is being made. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because moments like this deserve much more than a 30-second highlight. They deserve the complete story. And that story begins with a player who entered the night surrounded by questions. Clark had recently returned from a back injury that forced her to miss several games. She was still working to regain her rhythm and build herself back up to a full workload. Her previous 3 games from beyond the arc had been difficult. She had made only 3 of her last 19 three-point attempts, and her season shooting percentage from deep had dropped to around 32% heading into the matchup against Seattle. For any player, a stretch like that can create hesitation. 1 missed shot turns into 2, and 2 misses slowly become doubt. A player starts thinking instead of reacting. They begin passing up shots they would normally take without hesitation. Every three-point attempt starts to feel heavier because everyone is watching to see if the next one finally goes in. And when that player is Caitlin Clark, even a short shooting slump becomes a major storyline. When Caitlin Clark goes through a shooting slump, it doesn't stay a simple basketball issue. It turns into a national conversation. Every missed shot gets analyzed. Every decision is questioned. Every facial expression becomes a headline. Some people wonder if defenses have finally figured her out. Others ask if she's still dealing with injuries. Some believe she takes too many difficult shots, while others insist she should be even more aggressive. That's the reality of being one of the most talked about athletes in women's basketball. Clark is rarely allowed to have an average game. She is either making history or facing endless questions about what went wrong. But the greatest shooters are not defined by the nights when everything comes easily. They are defined by how they respond when the shots stop falling. Against Seattle, Clark didn't play like someone searching for confidence. She played like someone who never lost it in the first place. From the opening minutes, Indiana played with pace, energy, and purpose. Clark wasn't just looking for her own shot. She was creating opportunities for everyone around her, forcing Seattle's defense into impossible decisions. Defenders had to choose whether to step out several feet beyond the three-point line to challenge Clark or stay with Indiana's cutters and shooters. Get too close, and Clark would attack the open space behind them. Stay too far back, and she would confidently launch from distances most players wouldn't even consider. Send a second defender, and passing lanes immediately open for her teammates. That's what makes Clark's offensive impact so difficult to measure with points alone. A deep three-pointer changes the scoreboard, but the threat of a deep three-pointer changes the entire defense. On this night, those possibilities quickly became reality. Clark finished the game shooting 11 of 18 from the field, and an outstanding 6 of 10 from beyond the arc. She also attacked the basket often enough to earn 19 free throw attempts, knocking down 17 of them. Those numbers reveal something important. This wasn't simply a player standing behind the three-point line waiting for open looks. Clark scored from long range, pushed the pace in transition, attacked defenders off the dribble, absorbed contact, and consistently created scoring chances for her teammates. The record for fastest to 200 career three-pointers will grab the headlines, but her complete performance showed why she has become much more than just a three-point specialist. She can break down a defense in multiple ways, and that's exactly why reaching 200 career threes matters so much. Caitlin Clark reached that milestone in only 74 games. Katie Smith, one of the greatest scorers in the history of women's professional basketball, previously held the record at 81 games. Breaking a record connected to a player of Smith's caliber is no small achievement. 7 games may not sound like a huge difference until you realize how difficult it is to produce consistently from three-point range. Every defense knows exactly what Clark wants to do. She's the first player listed on every scouting report. Opponents prepare for her shooting range long before tip-off. They pick her up far beyond the three-point line. They assign physical defenders to wear her down. They try to deny her the ball, force her into help defenders, and make every possession as difficult as possible. There are no surprises anymore. Clark isn't reaching these milestones because teams don't know what she's capable of. She's reaching them while entire defensive game plans are built around stopping her. That's what separates an impressive statistic from a truly meaningful record. The opposition knows what's coming. They prepare for it, and Clark still finds ways to produce. But the night was far from over after she reached the milestone. Indiana needed more than history. The Fever needed Clark to take over when the pressure reached its highest point. Seattle stayed within striking distance, kept attacking, and eventually put Indiana under serious pressure late in the fourth quarter. The Fever had controlled the game earlier, but the Storm fought back. With the final period winding down, Indiana suddenly found itself trailing by 8 points. At that moment, Clark's record-breaking performance could have become nothing more than a footnote in a disappointing loss. Instead, that was when the game transformed from impressive to unforgettable. Clark exploded for 16 points in the fourth quarter alone. Yet one of the biggest plays of the night didn't come from her scoring. With less than a minute remaining and the game tied, Seattle appeared ready to score an easy fast break layup. Clark raced back on defense, recovered just in time, and blocked the shot, sending the ball out of bounds. It was exactly the kind of defensive effort critics don't usually expect from a player known for deep shooting and elite passing. Then, only moments later, Clark delivered the shot everyone will remember, a clutch three-pointer from the left wing that gave Indiana a 105-102 lead. Although the Fever briefly gave that lead back, Clark calmly stepped to the free throw line and buried 4 pressure-packed free throws over the final 17 seconds to seal a dramatic 110-107 victory. Think about that closing sequence for a moment. A hustle play on defense, a game-saving block, a go-ahead three-pointer, and 4 clutch free throws under maximum pressure. That's far more than just scoring points. That's control. It's the understanding that even the greatest individual performance means very little if the team doesn't come away with the win. Clark had already reached 200 career three-pointers. She had already delivered the highest scoring game of her career. She had already made WNBA history. But the final challenge was finishing the job and securing the victory. And that's exactly what she did. This is also why focusing only on debates about popularity can cause people to overlook what's actually happening on the court. Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA with an unbelievable amount of attention. That attention brought passionate supporters, outspoken critics, enormous expectations, and constant comparisons. Some fans celebrate every achievement as proof that she's changing the league forever. Others quickly point to the great players who spent years building the WNBA into what it is today. But appreciating Clark's historic start doesn't require ignoring or disrespecting the legends who came before her. In fact, her accomplishments become even more meaningful when that history is respected. Katie Smith's record mattered. That's exactly why breaking it matters. The players who built the WNBA created the standard that Clark is now chasing. Every new generation is supposed to challenge the one before it. That's how sports continue to evolve. Records aren't meant to disrespect the past. They're part of an ongoing conversation with it. One great player sets the standard. Another spends years trying to reach it. Then, eventually, someone comes along who changes what everyone believed was possible. Clark reaching 200 career three-pointers in just 74 games doesn't erase anyone's legacy. It simply adds another unforgettable chapter to the story. There's also a reason this particular record feels so closely connected to Clark's identity. Long before she ever stepped onto a WNBA court, her shooting range had already become one of the most recognizable parts of her game. She didn't just take three-pointers from behind the line. She regularly pulled up from several feet beyond it. Those shots weren't only exciting to watch. They completely changed how defenses had to guard her. Traditional defensive spacing suddenly became risky. A defender who thought they were standing at a safe distance could instantly realize Clark was already well within her shooting range. That ability forces defenses to spread farther across the floor. Once they spread out, the entire court opens up. Driving lanes become wider. Passing angles become easier. Teammates get more room to work. That's why Clark's three-point shooting and her passing are so closely connected. Her range creates fear. That fear forces defenders to move. And that movement creates opportunities for everyone else. The record tells us she reached 200 career three-pointers faster than anyone in WNBA history. But it doesn't fully capture how many other baskets became possible simply because opponents were already worried about three-pointer number 201. This performance also arrived at an important stage in Clark's development. Early in every player's career, opponents collect information. They study tendencies. They learn which direction a player prefers to attack. They identify favorite spots on the floor and search for weaknesses they can exploit. Then comes the adjustment period. The league changes its approach, and the player has to respond better of her. But growth isn't about avoiding struggles. Growth happens because of those struggles. Against Seattle, Clark displayed a version of her game that blended spectacular highlights with complete basketball. The deep shooting was there. The elite playmaking was there. But so were the free throws, the defensive effort, the composure, and the ability to execute in the biggest moments of the game. That may be the most concerning part for every opponent in the league. The player who entered the WNBA known for unbelievable shooting range is quickly becoming someone who impacts every single area of the game. Her head coach, Stephanie White, described the final stat line as almost surreal. Clark herself explained that she had believed in and visualized a performance like this before it ever happened. That mindset matters. Confidence is often misunderstood. It doesn't mean expecting every shot to go in. It means believing the next shot deserves to be taken, even after the last one missed. Clark's recent struggles from three-point range could have easily made her more cautious. Instead, she trusted the work she had already put in. That trust resulted in 6 made three-pointers, including the shot that gave Indiana the lead for good. This is the cycle every great shooter has to survive. Shoot. Mississippi hear the criticism. Go back to the gym. Shoot again. The public usually sees only the final result. The player experiences everything that happens between those results. That's why phrases like haters and chaos might grab attention online, but the real story has never been about proving strangers on social media wrong. Clark's biggest challenge isn't her critics. It's living up to the incredibly high standard she has already set for herself. When a player keeps making history over and over again, history starts to feel normal. People stop asking if she'll break another record and start asking which record she'll break next. That's an almost impossible expectation to carry. A great performance no longer feels extraordinary. A normal double-double suddenly seems average. 20 points and 8 assists can somehow leave people feeling like something was missing. That's the price of an extraordinary beginning. But it's also proof of just how much expectations have changed. Before Clark entered the league, reaching 200 career three-pointers in 81 games was the fastest pace in WNBA history. Now, that number has become 74. The next elite shooter who enters the WNBA will see Caitlin Clark's name sitting at the top of that list. She'll know exactly what record has to be broken. That's how a player shapes the future without ever meeting the athletes, who will eventually chase her accomplishments. Young players watching this moment aren't just seeing a superstar make impossible long-distance shots. They're watching the standard for greatness rise in real time. Young athletes watching this moment aren't just seeing a player knock down incredible long-distance shots. They're watching the limits of shooting range continue to expand. Coaches may begin encouraging players to develop skills that were once viewed as too risky. Young guards may enter the league believing they can be both high-volume scorers and elite playmakers at the same time. Teams may continue building offenses around spacing, deep shooting, speed, and smart decision-making. Clark isn't solely responsible for basketball's evolution. No single player ever is. But she has become one of the clearest examples of where the game is headed. More spacing, greater shooting range, more creativity, and more responsibility placed in the hands of dynamic guards. Perhaps the most exciting part is that all of this has happened in just 74 career games. She has already made 200 career three-pointers. She has already recorded more than 600 career assists, another milestone she reached faster than anyone else in WNBA history. She also produced the first 40-point, 10-assist game the league has ever seen. None of these achievements guarantee what comes next. Sports never offer guarantees. Injuries matter. Team development matters. Playoff success matters. Longevity matters. And the WNBA is filled with elite players capable of beating anyone on any given night. But records are proof of what has already happened. They tell the story of what has already been accomplished. And what Caitlin Clark has already accomplished is remarkable. She reached 200 career three-pointers faster than every player who came before her. She did it during a career-best 45-point performance. She did it while leading an incredible comeback. She did it while creating scoring opportunities for her teammates. She did it after fighting through one of the toughest shooting stretches of her career. And she did it in a victory that required clutch plays on both offense and defense. So what does this night really mean? It proves that her shooting was never just a college phenomenon. It proves that WNBA defenses have spent more than 2 full seasons studying every part of her game, and she is still finding new ways to break records. It proves that difficult stretches haven't taken away her confidence or her willingness to take responsibility when the game is on the line. And it also proves that the conversation surrounding Caitlin Clark isn't going to slow down anytime soon. Her supporters will continue celebrating. Her critics will continue debating. Analysts will continue comparing different eras. A new Indiana Fever franchise scoring record. The league's first ever 40-point, 10-assist performance. And a clutch go-ahead three-pointer when Indiana needed it most. That's not hype. That's not speculation. That's exactly what happened. The greatest response to criticism has never been words. It's performance. And on this night, Caitlin Clark let the scoreboard, the record book, and the final results speak for her. Now the question isn't whether she'll make more history. The real question is how quickly the next record will fall to keep the conversation respectful. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more WNBA news, historic moments, records, and in-depth analysis. Because Caitlin Clark has already reached 200 career three-pointers, and based on the pace she's setting, it feels like she's only getting started.